Fox News Alert, we are watching a new chapter in the conflict with Iran right now in the Strait of Hormuz. 27th day of a ceasefire, and Iran is faking its way back to fighting, apparently. The radical Islamic regime has claimed it fired on and hit a U.S. warship to prevent its entry into the strait. But that's not true. Confirmation from U.S. Central Command says Iran did nothing. Iran is managing, however, to panic over the U.S. blockade continuing to put a stranglehold on their economy. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. President Trump says the U.S. Navy is now guiding commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz in what he calls a humanitarian mission that helps everybody. Project Freedom. CENTCOM says they have successfully escorted 2 U.S.-flagged merchant vessels through the waterway so far. And the president posted, the ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. If in any way this humanitarian process is interfered with, that interference will, unfortunately, have to be dealt with forcefully. Iranian officials then warned U.S. forces to stay out. An Iranian military leader said that any foreign armed forces would be, quote-unquote, attacked if they intend to approach or enter the strait. Here's Fox News senior strategic analyst, General Jack Keane.
There are ship merchants and owners who are willing to move their ships through the straits. We'll see if that actually happens. The Iranians, of course, are going to be doing what they can to stop that from happening, talking to them, intimidating them, coercing them. And the Iranians, once we do start moving ships through, will retaliate. It's likely they're going to try to penetrate. If they are unable to penetrate, and we think we're pretty comfortable that that'll be kept to a minimum.
And coming up, retired Vice Admiral and former Deputy Commander of U.S. CENTCOM, Robert Harward. Let's begin with correspondent Bryan Llenas, who is in Tel Aviv, Israel. Bryan.
Harris, in breaking right now, the United Arab Emirates says its missile defense system is currently responding to a missile threat. Now, this comes after the UAE accused Iran of striking one of its empty oil tankers with 2 Iranian drones today as it made its way through the Strait of Hormuz. South Korea is also investigating a potential attack on one of its vessels that suffered a fire in one of its engine rooms. These are fast-moving developments today, as CENTCOM says that at least 2 U.S.-flagged merchant ships have successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz through what the U.S. is calling an enhanced security area along Oman's territorial waters. This is all part of Project Freedom, launched this morning, a humanitarian effort to safely guide an estimated 800 stranded cargo ships and tankers and some 20,000 crew members out of the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump is warning that any interference from Iran will be dealt with, quote, forcefully. Now, the Wall Street Journal says U.S. naval ships are not physically escorting ships out of the strait, but CENTCOM says guided missile destroyers, 100+ land and sea-based aircraft, and 15,000 service members are supporting the mission. Meantime, Iran claims the Strait of Hormuz is theirs. The head of Iran's military unified command saying, quote, we warn that any foreign armed services, especially the aggressive U.S. Army, will be attacked if they intend to approach and enter the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent responded this morning on Fox.
We are not the provocateurs here, but if the Iranians want to escalate here, we are willing to escalate. It is a test of Iran, but again, this is a ragtag band of pirates that the great U.S. military, we've destroyed their Air Force, we've destroyed all of their conventional Navy. Their battle lines along the strait have been destroyed.
And this is worth repeating. CENTCOM says that Iranian state media reports that it struck a U.S. naval ship with 2 missiles is simply not true. CENTCOM Admiral Commander Brad Cooper will be addressing reporters in a phone call at noon today, updating us on Project Freedom. Harris?
Oh, that is great. Yeah, that's where we started today, Bryan, just saying that CENTCOM had already confirmed that that wasn't true, but that phone call coming up with the commander will be great to get. Thank you so very much. In focus now, Vice Admiral Robert Harward, a former deputy commander of U.S. CENTCOM and retired U.S. Navy SEAL. Sir, always great to have you in focus. Look, I want to start with this new, what the president is calling a humanitarian mission, Project Freedom, and get your top-line thoughts on it.
Well, he's made the guarantee that we will guide ships through the Straits of Hormuz, and that means we're giving them directions, we're helping them through, we're providing some sort of coverage which is separate and distinct from escort, where you'd accompany every ship, provide coverage. Okay. This allows him to maintain his military options to respond and not tying up those assets, but helping those countries who are willing to move their ships through the straits.
Do you believe Iran's leadership, their military leadership, whoever may be left and alive, when they say that they are ready to re-engage at any moment militarily?
Well, I doubt they really have much capability left. Maybe some missiles, some drones. But again, it'd be a very foolish move on their part, because we'd respond with overwhelming force almost immediately, not only eradicating the threat that it presented, so engaging and taking that out, but a more broader and significant response. So I think that'd be unwise by Iran. And I think at this point, they're just using any rhetoric and psychological warfare they can to keep this as uncertain and play into their equations of milking time for as best they can, while they continue to struggle with the economic impacts of the blockade.
Well, and that's what's really confounding here. I mean, it's not very logical. Look, the United States, nobody wants to stay at war. We don't want that situation. However, if it's a few weeks away, and I'm reading less than 22 days, maybe even shorter than that, that their economy really starts to significantly falter in ways that we can see from the outside, for example. And here's more on it from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
We are saying the Iranians do not have control of the strait. We have absolute control of the strait. We have blockaded the ships going into or out of Iranian ports. Their economy is in free fall, and everyone says they have the high tolerance for pain. Well, their soldiers will not have a high tolerance for not getting paid.
Nobody has a high tolerance for not getting paid over there, I would imagine. It involves food as well, from some of the reporting that we can even get with the internet down. The Wall Street Journal editorial board with this: Operation Economic Fury is squeezing Iran's financing, and to avoid shutting in its oil wells, the regime is scrambling for any junk storage it can find. When Iran runs out of oil storage, it will have to stop production, causing permanent damage. Reliant on imports, Iran also faces a gasoline crisis, which is politically combustible. While Trump critics say Iran can hold out forever because it withstood sanctions in the past, the situations aren't comparable at this point. Iran has already lost some 40% of its GDP in 2 months. Wow, Vice Admiral, that's a lot.
Very painful, but here's the problem. That's going to hurt the Iranian people most. And the guys who will take care of themselves are the IRGC and the thugs. So the good news in that only intensifies the pressure internally and forcing the Iranian people with the right enablers to respond and go after the regime. So all of this is a great strategy by the president. And as the secretary said, this is only going to add pressure to them and change their calculus for survival.
You know, Vice Admiral Harward, you always bring the optimism, but you bottom line it for us. So if we are in a position where they can wait out a little bit longer, because they first surprised us with a number of drones and ballistic missiles they had at the beginning of the war, day 27 of a ceasefire, if it looks like it's going to be another 27 or beyond that in terms of days, do you advocate now, as you have in the past, just finishing this militarily?
Without a doubt. Timing's irrelevant to me. We have to finish this. The president invested a lot of capital and time on this. So you want to realize return on your investment. And that means an end state with a government that renounces the Islamic Revolution and all these programs they have, the nuclear program, the missiles, the control of the straits. We've got to ensure at the end of this conflict that no longer exists.
Last quick question. Do we need our friends in NATO? Are they still friends? This is a big conversation going on right now internationally.
Well, they're always going to be friends, but their interests are at stake. And it just astounds me that they don't want to be a part of this because the end state is so substantial for them. And they're going to come to that conclusion at one time or another. And if they don't, we will finish the job and they won't be involved with what comes next. So the stakes are very high for them as well. And I believe at the end of the day, they're going to come to that realization, just like the regime is going to come to the realization that they are going to end their activities. So it's just a matter of when everyone comes to their senses and realizes the irrefutable ending of how this will all play out.
Vice Admiral, former U.S. CENTCOM commander, great to have you always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.